Afternoon, YouTube. This is Jeff Hale. Welcome hunters, fly fishermen, and fly fisher women. This channel's made to help you become a more comprehensive outdoors person. And today we're going to go back to fly fishing. This is our third lesson in basic fly casting. And just to review, in the first lesson we learned of how to rig our rod up. We talked about the different components of the rod, and we practiced just making a back cast. And then we practiced making a back cast and a forward cast, right? You can't make a good forward cast unless you make a good back cast. We talked about if you had, pretend the fly rod was a stick and you had an apple on the stick and you're trying to flick the apple off the stick. We talked about making sure that we're going between 11 and 1, 11 and 1, and we want tight candy cane shaped loops. We want a smooth acceleration to a stop. So, just to review what we did, remember our fly line, just like in a bullet, it's got grain weights. We want to practice with like the first 30 feet of line. And the last thing I asked you to do is start with a low rod tip, put your hand in your pocket, and you were going to make 3 false casts and then lay it back down, something like this. 1, 2, 3, and lay your hand down. So I asked you to do that over and over again. And in today's lesson, what we're going to talk about is stripping in line and extending line. So there's a couple of reasons. Let's talk about false cast. False cast is anytime you move your line back and forth in the air and you're not laying it down on the water to fish. And there's 3 reasons why you'd want a false cast. The first reason is to practice. Practice making your loops, just like we've had you do in these other videos. The second reason is, let's say you're fishing a dry fly, right? And my dry fly catch a fish and maybe the fly goes under the water and the fish gets some slime on it. My fly doesn't want to float anymore. One way to dry out your fly is to just quickly do a bunch of false casts, right? And you can flick the water off your fly and you can dry it. But notice I'm not extending any line, right? So first reason is to practice our loops. Second reason is maybe you want to dry your fly off. But the third and most important and most common and most often reason that you're gonna false cast is to extend line while you're fishing. What do I mean extend line? Well, if you want to get your line out to the fish, you have to use the momentum of the forward cast to extend your line until it gets far enough. Then you release it and you lay it down. Then you fish your line. And let's say we're fishing a streamer. Let's say I'm standing on the shore of a lake and I'm casting my fly rod and I have a streamer, a woolly bugger, and I'm casting it out as far as I can, letting it hit, sinking, and then I'm stripping the line back in, making that bugger swim. Might look like a minnow, might look like a dragonfly nymph, and I'm trying to catch that thing. Well, eventually I'm going to strip that line all the way back in, and now I need to pick it up and I need to cast it way back out there. Well, in order to do that, you have to false cast and you have to extend line. So those are the 2 things we're going to talk about today. False casting to extend line and stripping our line back in. Let's take a look at what this might look like. So, in the video before, I had you put your hand in your pocket and just make your false cast. Now what I want you to do is I always want you to hold the line in your left hand and your rod in your right hand, or vice versa if you're a left-handed caster. And let's say that, you know, I just tied my fly on. Okay, I just tied it on, put my fly on here. Well, I only got 10 feet of line hanging out the end of my rod. How do I get it out there to where the fish are? And remember, my rod is made to cast with the first 30 feet weight in grains. That's how it flexes optimally. So how do I do that? Well, what I'm going to do is lay my line out, and I'm going to false cast, and you watch. Every time I come forward, I'm going to open my left hand and close it. Open and close it. And I'm going to slowly extend line. Let's see what that looks like. Open my left hand. Open my left hand. Open my left hand, shoot line out, and let it sit. Okay, now I've just casted my woolly bugger out, say 40 feet. Now I want to strip it back in. Whenever you strip line in, you want to take the line from your line hand, and now you want to cross it over to your rod hand. And you want to make sure you take the fly line, and some people do it underneath their pointer finger, some people do it underneath their first 2 fingers, some people do it underneath 3 fingers. I like to do it under my first finger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move and strip my line back in. And for example, if I was fishing now, what I'd be doing is making that streamer fly swim, and I'd be hoping a trout or some other fish would hit it. And I'm stripping it in, and I'm stripping it in, and I'm stripping it in, and notice my rod tip is low. The reason I want my rod tip low is because if a fish strikes right now, I can strip and lift and set the hook. I can pick up all that line off the water, put tension in it, and pull that fly into the hook's mouth. If my rod tip's up here and I'm stripping, well, that's not very efficient, because now if a fish strikes, I got nowhere to go. I have nowhere to lift. However, if I have my rod tip low and a fish strikes, boom, I can lift all that line up and put a lot of momentum in it and set the hook. So for this third lesson, what you want to do is you want to basically, instead of just doing 3 false casts and laying it down, I want you to strip your line all the way in, and I want you to make as many false casts as you need to get the full extension of the 30 or 40 feet of line out. Then I want you to lay it down. I want you to take the line from your line hand, put it under your finger, put your rod tip low, and strip it back in. And this is going to help you whether you're fishing dry flies, streamers, nymphs, whatever. You'll use the same type of technique to manage your line. So this is what it would look like. So I've stripped off enough line. Let's say I have 30 or 40 feet. Here's my fly. I want to get it out there 40 feet to where the trout are. So I'm going to start my cast with my line in my line hand, my left hand, and I'm going to do tight loops, open my left hand. Open my left hand. As you can see, line is coming out. It's all the way out. Now I'm going to put the line under my finger, low rod tip, and I'm going to strip it all the way back. Strip, 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 strip. And I'm going to keep coming till maybe I only have a foot of the fly line left hanging out the end of my fly rod. Because a lot of times those trout or coho salmon or sea run cutthroats will bite right close in, so you got to strip that fly all the way in. Now I need to put it back out, but check it out, I got a foot of line. That doesn't weigh anything. That weighs almost nothing. So how do I get the line out and flex this rod? Well, I start false casting, and I start letting line out with this left hand until eventually I have enough line out. I can shoot it all out, and again, I'm going to start to strip it back. So this is a great way to practice fly fishing on the grass. You're practicing stripping, right? Some people do this. You don't want to do that. If a fish strikes right now you have nowhere to pinch the line. Always strip the line behind the hand. One more time, this is what it would look like. We're going to extend line, make nice candy cane shaped loops so that we have the energy to carry the fly out. And extend on the forward cast, extend on the forward cast, extend on the forward cast, and we're laying it down. Boom. Low rod tip, start stripping it back in. If this is too hard, go back one lesson, and remember, just put your hand in your pocket, and don't worry about extending line. Just go back to making candy cane shaped loops. Do it 3 times, going between 11 and 1, and drop it back down. So this is our 3rd lesson. I hope this helps you. We'll do another advanced lesson coming up. We'll start talking about different types of casts, about mending, and some other things in the next video. If you like my channel, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.